Hi guys, how are you? Woo, how's everything going? Well, I'm here. We're all good. And let's see, who do we have in the house? Oh my goodness, thank you all for being here. I have Grandma Six was here first. Might have to give you a prize. Brando is here. We have Jules, we have Cheri. We got the Ma Squad in the house. Susan Dawson, Cheri, how you doing? Mother Teresa, Kels, EXO, welcome. Let's see, who else do we have here? And Susan, I was looking for my cousin. Hi guys, welcome. I'm glad you're here tonight. And Susan, oh my God, sorry. Hi guys, welcome. Sorry. So I want to discuss, this is a tough one. This is going to be about Derek Chauvin, okay? He is the cop that held his knee on George Floyd's knee. And his trial has been set for March 29th in the jury. So before they picked the jury, they did a 16-page questionnaire. The questionnaire consisted of how did they feel about Black Lives Matter. Hi, SM, welcome. They had to discuss how did they believe it. Some of the jurors, some of the potential jurors backed out after they found out about the $27 million settlement that the family received. They didn't think they can be, how did they put it? They didn't think they can forget about the settlement that the family settled for, which has nothing to do with what happened to George Floyd. As we know, on May 25th, 2020, Mr. Floyd had gone to, Cup Foods. And I guess the cashier said that he had passed him a bad $20 bill. It was Mr. Floyd, another guy, and a lady. The cashier told them they were parked around the corner at another store. The cops went, pulled them out the car. He told them that he didn't want to get in the back seat. He was claustrophobic. Well, the part you didn't see is when they put him in the front seat, Chauvin grabbed him out of the passenger side and was making it to the point where, he was fighting back. And he put his knee on his neck. We saw the cops standing around, and there was 3 other officers involved with this. So it's just crazy. I'm sorry. This just brings me to, so on the jury now, they have 14 seated. There's an extra juror, which is juror number 15, in case one of the other jurors drop out. Hi, Mina, welcome. I saw EXO. Let me see. I saw Susie come in, I thought. I'm not sure. Yes, I did see Susie Bell. Hi, Angela. Welcome. And guys, please, if you want to come up, have a conversation. I will. Matter of fact, let me just drop the link right now. And that way you guys can come up and we can discuss it. If you want to, feel free to come up and we can have an open discussion about it. There's the link. I just dropped it in the chat. So, feel free. Come on up, discuss it. If you don't want to show your face on camera when you come backstage, I'm going to need you just to have the camera on so I can see that you're who you say you are. I'm not going to call him Mr. Chauvin. Derek was charged. He has 3 counts. He has second-degree murder, which is a 15 years, imprisonment up to 15 years. He has second-degree manslaughter, which carries 41 to 57 months. And then he has a third-degree murder charge, which is also 15 years. And, oh, my God. So the open arguments start on March 29th. Okay, so on the jury, we have 8 whites, 4 blacks, and 2 identified as multiracial. And let's see, they're broken down by, there's one black retired grandmother. There's a white nurse in her late 50s. There are 2 black managers in their 30s and 40s. There's a white auditor. There's 1 black youth coach, sports coach for sports. He's in his 30s. You have 2 single white mothers in their 50s working in healthcare. You also have 1 white chemist. You have 1 white social worker. You have a multiracial in her 20s and a multiracial woman in her 50s. And then you have 2 that are classified as, what did they say? That they were mixed, not multiracial, just mixed. So on this date, and you know, all the protests and everything started. So it's just sad. And I wanted to find something. I had it already here. So let me just pull it up. I'm going to read you exactly what his charges, exactly what happened on this date. They said on May 25th, 2020, someone called 911 and reported that a man bought merchandise from Cup Foods at 3759 Chicago Avenue, Minneapolis, and he used a counterfeit $20 bill. They're saying at 8:08 p.m., Minnesota police officers Thomas Land, J.A. Cone, and arrived with body-worn cameras activated and running. The officers learned from the store personnel that the man who passed the counterfeit $20 bill was parked in a car around the corner from the store on 38th Street. Now, they had their cameras rolling. 3 people were in the vehicle. Adult male in the passenger seat and a woman. And these people were known to the police department, okay? Officer Lane began speaking with Mr. Floyd. He pulled his gun out and pointed it at Mr. Floyd's open window and directed Mr. Floyd to show his hands. When Mr. Floyd put his hands on the steering wheel, Lane put his gun back in the holster. While Officer Cone was speaking with the front seat passenger, Officer Lane ordered Mr. Floyd out of the car, put his hands on Mr. Floyd, and pulled him out of the car. Officer Lane handcuffed Mr. Floyd. Now, you notice Derek Chauvin is nowhere there yet. Once handcuffed, Mr. Lloyd walked with the officer to the sidewalk and sat on the ground at Officer Lane's direction. When Mr. Floyd sat down, he said, "Thank you, man," and was calm. In a conversation that lasted just under 2 minutes, Officer Lane asked Mr. Floyd for his name and identification. Officer Lane asked Mr. Floyd if he has anything and noted there was foam on the edges of his mouth. Officer Lane explained that he was arresting Mr. Floyd for passing counterfeit currency. Now, everything was calm. Hi, Debbie. Welcome. Hi, Melanie. I thought you were still on vacation. Thank you, EXO. I dropped the link. So yes, if anybody wants to come up, please feel free to come up. I'm just reading the scenarios of what happened, and then we can have a discussion about this. This whole time, they're saying that George was calm. He was good. At 8:14, Officer Chauvin and Land stood Mr. Floyd up and attempted to walk Mr. Floyd to their squad car. As the officers tried to put Mr. Floyd in their squad car, Mr. Floyd stiffened up and fell to the ground. Mr. Floyd told officers he was not resisting, but he did not want to get in the back seat because he was claustrophobic. I know I cannot ride in the back seat of the car. And anybody that knows me, when I ride in the car, I have to have the windows cracked. If I'm in the back seat, it's a whole nother story. I have sunroof open, everything. I need fresh air coming at me. MP offers, this is when David Chauvin and Tao shows up. They arrive in separate squad cars. The officers made several attempts to get Mr. Floyd in the backseat of their squad car by pushing him from the driver's side. As the officers were trying to force Mr. Floyd in the backseat, Mr. Floyd repeatedly said that he could not breathe. He could not breathe. He claustrophobic. I understand it. He probably started hyperventilating. Mr. Floyd did not voluntarily sit in the back seat, and the officers physically struggled to try to get him in the back seat. The defendant went to the passenger side and tried to get Mr. Floyd into the car from that side, and Lane and Kung assisted. The defendant pulled Mr. Floyd out of the passenger side of the squad car at 8:19:38, and Mr. Floyd went to the ground face down and still handcuffed. Kung held Mr. Floyd's back and Lane held his legs. The defendant placed his left knee in the area of Mr. Floyd's head and neck. Mr. Floyd said, "I can't breathe," multiple times. And Mr. Floyd said, "Mama, please," as well. He said, "I'm about to die." The defendant and the other two officers stayed in their positions. What at that point in time did they not understand? He could not breathe. I'm trying to understand. He kept saying he could not breathe. What at any time didn't they understand? Then the lady that was filming them, Chauvin threatened to have her arrested. He was mean and nasty. He threatened to have her arrested because she was filming the whole thing. So I'm just saying, what in that did they not understand? First of all, he's telling you he's claustrophobic. He cannot breathe. He's telling you he can't ride in the back seat. I've known plenty of people to get in the front seat. They're handcuffs. I mean, but they say they do it for your own protection. I get that. I understand that. But at what point in time did they not understand he was having a hard time breathing? And I'm sure he was hyperventilating, because you get in a situation, you start hyperventilating. Now, I don't know what the foam around his mouth meant, but that was before the arrest even, before the encounter even started. He was already foaming at the mouth. Hi, Nurse Jen. Oh, thank you, Melanie. Yes, they threatened to arrest her as well. Yes, they did. I'm just trying to see at what time. That was Kel's. I saw another comment that I wanted to put up. Okay, so there are, let me break it down. There are 8 whites, 4 blacks, and you have 2 identified as multiracial, and then you have another 2 that says they're of mixed origin. So that is the makeup of the jury. And then the 15th guy that they picked, he's a white man in his 20s, in case someone drops out of the 14 jurors. Let's see. Melanie, where are you at in Florida? Because I go to Fort Walton and I go to Destin, Florida as well. So I know you guys are having fun. So I'm gonna finish reading this. So one of the officers said, "You're talking fine to Mr. Floyd." As he continued to move back and forth, Lane asked, "Should we roll him on his side?" And the defendant said, "No, staying put where we got him." Now he just arrived and he just starts he's taking control. I think he was a senior officer when he got there. Officer Lane said, "I'm worried about excited delirium or whatever." The defendant said, "That's why we have him on his stomach." That's why we have him on his stomach. The defendant and Kong, Mr. Floyd's held Mr. Floyd's right hand up. None of the 3 officers moved from their position. None of them moved. This man was still laying on the ground, saying he can't breathe, calling for his mother, and asking them please to let him up. While Mr. Floyd showed slight movements, his movements and sounds decreased until 8:24. 8 minutes, 24 seconds. This is sad. And Floyd stopped moving. The video appears to show Mr. Floyd ceasing to breathe or speak. Lane said, "I want to roll him on his side." Cone checked Mr. Floyd's right wrist for a pulse and said, "I couldn't find one." None of the officers moved from their positions. Now you can't find a pulse. Nobody moved to help him to even do CPR. Nobody. and they're worth about $27 million. That's not bringing this man back to his family at all. Not at all. At 8:27, the defendant removed his knee from Mr. Floyd's neck. An ambulance and emergency medical personnel arrived. The officers placed Mr. Floyd on a gurney, and the ambulance left the scene. Mr. Floyd was pronounced dead at Hennepin County Medical Center. So, the Hennepin County Medical Examiner conducted Mr. Floyd's autopsy on May 26th, the next day. While the ME did not observe physical findings supportive of mechanical asphyxia, the ME opinions that Mr. Floyd died from cardiopulmonary arrest while being restrained by enforcement officers. The autopsy revealed that Mr. Floyd had hypertensive heart disease, and toxicology tested revealed the presence of fentanyl and of evidence of recent methamphetamine use. So that's probably where the foaming at the mouth came from. The ME opinion that the effects of the officer's restraint of Mr. Floyd is underlying health conditions and the presence of drugs contributed to his death. The ME listed the cause of death as coronary pulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, neck compression, and concluded the manner of death was homicide. Homicide, not natural causes, not disease, but homicide. That's what the medical examiner concluded. So I'm just trying to figure out, in all that time, he's telling you he cannot breathe. He cannot breathe. And you still didn't do it. The defendant and the officers, Lang and Kuhn, subdued Mr. Floyd prone to the ground in this manner for nearly 9 minutes. During this time, Mr. Floyd repeatedly stated he could not breathe and his physical condition continued to deteriorate, such that force was no longer necessary to control him. The defendant had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in total. 2 minutes and 53 seconds of this was after Mr. Floyd was non-responsive. So he was non-responsive, and you still had your knee on his neck for 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Police are trained that this type of restraint with subject in a prone position is inherently dangerous. Officer Chauvin's restraint of Mr. Floyd in this manner for a prolonged period was a substantial causal factor in Mr. Floyd losing consciousness, constituting substantial bodily harm, and Mr. Floyd's death as well. The defendant was taken into custody. Now, we have 12 people. Well, we got 14 jurors. And the pool, blacks, 2 identified as multiracial, and 2 of mixed. They're not telling you what origins. I want to know, what do you guys think? How do we think this is going to go? Because right now we have the 2nd-degree murder, 2nd-degree manslaughter, and 3rd-degree murder. So what that's telling me is, if they can't get him on 2nd degree, they're going to get him on 3rd. They added the 2nd-degree manslaughter there. Yep. So, Mina, you are the doctor in the house. Yes. I mean, this is sad. They never got off him, even not finding a pulse. They stayed on him for 2 minutes and 53 seconds. They kept this man on the ground, non-responsive. And at the time when the other 2 officers were handling it, Derek Chauvin showed up. So we have J. Alexander Kuhn, Thomas Lang, and I'm going to say Tao Thai. He's a Filipino. They're being charged with aiding and abetting. They have 2 counts: 2nd-degree unintentional homicide and 2nd-degree manslaughter. So they're being tried in August. So if Derek Chauvin is not convicted, their case is going to be harder to prove. How many think that this man, that ex-officer Chauvin is going to be convicted of this crime, because this is a homicide. This wasn't self-defense. There was no fighting. There was no gunplay. I mean, he was handcuffed and on the ground. Yep. And Mina, and I want to thank Mina, had sent me all this information. I pulled the breakdown of the jurors. I didn't grab all of that information because as I was writing, I was getting madder and madder and madder just writing this stuff. And you guys remember Elton Sterling. Okay. This happened in Louisiana. And this is a distant cousin of mine. As a matter, outside of the store, we had just did the family thing, and we were holding a big reunion. That affected all of us. I've never met Elton. He was related. He was my grandfather's nephew's son. So he was like my sixth cousin, my mom's fifth. So they didn't charge him with first-degree murder at all. Heidi Light, I just love your name because I'm Heidi Black and you're coming in as Heidi Light, but you're spelling Heidi differently. I love your name. So, you know, they just held this man, I'm going to say 2 minutes and 53 seconds. And you know what? Okay, first-degree murder is intent. That's what it is. That's why they couldn't charge the first-degree murder charge. It's an intent. There was no intent. But I think if you hold somebody down for damn near 9 minutes with your knee on their neck, that's an intent to do something, because he wasn't fighting. Only thing he was doing was asking not to be put in the back seat. Now, granted, you know, they had this little shuffle, but when Chauvin came in, he yanked him. They had put him in a passenger. He yanked him out the passenger seat. So, and it's just that it has come to this. So, you know, this past summer, it sparked a lot of protests. And I'm going to tell you, a protest is a protest. That is your right to protest. But when you get into the looting, that has nothing to do with protesting at all. Not a thing. Not a thing. There was nothing to do with looting. So you have these protesters that are being peaceful. I'm going to say it right there in the mall in DC, which is right at 14th and H, where I used to work at, where they put the Black Lives Matter sign at. These people, the people out there protesting, they were being hosed. They were being shot with rubber bullets, not only in DC, but New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, Detroit, everywhere. They're being, they're being pepper sprayed. Everything was being done to these people, and they were peacefully protesting. But you got people that storm the Capitol. You going into the Capitol, you busting out windows and everything else, and not one of you get pepper sprayed until what happens? Until they threaten to the National Guards. Then, oh, it's a big thing. We all know if that was the same thing like Black Lives Matter, that wouldn't have gotten to the point where it. I don't care about the insurrection. I mean, I don't care if they say Trump started. Well, it should have never gotten to the point that it did when you stormed the Capitol, when you're in Nancy Pelosi's office, when you're in there taking pictures, you're taking down flags, you're running through the Capitol. No way. Now, if it would have been black people, they would have been, and this is my opinion, they would have all been shot. All of them. And it's disgusting. So now, you know, and then they were worried about his family, and his wife divorced him. But, you know, they all want police protection because people are threatening them. No, two rights do not make a wrong. But you took away this man's rights. You took this man from his family. For what? For what? When you didn't want to even get up and give him help. You didn't even try to give him mouth to mouth. You didn't try to render aid to a man that you knew was not breathing and laying on the damn ground when he wasn't even resisting arrest. Yes, thank you. Security did open the door for some of these guys. Yes, they did. And if you see, okay, I used to live in DC before we had let me see, when did they put up the concrete barriers in front of the Capitol? This is when they had the thing in Grenada, when all the students, all of a sudden, you couldn't walk up to the Capitol. They had the big block barricades there. You know, they had, I mean, up until 9/11, you can still walk right in front of the White House. Now you can't. All of that is barricaded off. All of it. You can't even do that anymore. So now, which officers face that they need to do what, Heidi? I'm confused. Hi, KK. Ooh. Okay. But I'm so, you know, and I'm just comparing what happened with the Black Lives Matter movement. And I see all of the reality shows, well, not all of them, like the Housewives shows and the other little shows, you know, they're touching around it. Last week we saw, well, Sunday we saw Melanie, her name is Melissa Boyd, who was part of the movement in Chicago when a cop hit her and knocked her teeth out of her mouth. So they skate around it. Well, what they're doing is they're putting up pieces. They're showing Portia getting arrested for Breonna Taylor. You know, they're doing all of that, but they're not actually, I remember I heard, was it Bravo said they had put up, I forgot how many millions, but they were going to be putting money into all of these different programs. Haven't heard anything else about it at all. Yes, the guy with the knee. You know, he was worried about his protection, but then, you know, he was actually heard bragging around the police station, you know, and the other officers are the ones that started talking because they didn't want to be charged with the stuff that he was going to be charged with. So, you know, they said that wall of blue, what is it? How did they call it? Oh, they call it the blue wall. You know, they call it, I have lots of cops in my family. My boyfriend has lots of cops in his family. Granted, some of them have retired, lawyers and judges. You know, I see cops out here every day. You know, there are some really, really nice cops. Both of my sons that were in the Air Force, before they picked what career field they wanted to go into, they were actually military police officers. Nobody jumped in. He was the senior officer on duty. No one jumped in to help this man. When Derek Chauvin pulled up, he was the senior officer on duty. So everybody was following his direction, even though they knew what he was doing was wrong. Nobody stood up to him at all, not even his partner. Yep. And then, you know, and I was trying to find the questions that was on the questionnaire because most of they were asking about how did they feel about Black Lives Matter. Okay, forget the fact yes, his wife divorced him. She divorced him and she's moved. No one knows where she's at. She divorced him. Yes. Yeah. And then if you saw him, if you saw him looking at the woman that was filming, he was threatening her. If you look, he was threatening her that she was going to be in the same position that George was in. It's basically what he told her. Yep. It was infuriating. Now, you know, don't get me wrong. You know, the family, you know, they got legal counseling, which is what they needed. But Ben Crump, of all people, yeah, he's there. He reminds me of Al Sharpton, to be honest. He's there while the cameras are rolling. When the cameras go, he's nowhere to be found. He's on to the next case. And I get it, but you just can't see, that's what everybody is saying, but you got to think about this too. If you do this, even if you touch a police in a line of duty, that's considered assault. You can put in danger. And I understand what you're saying, but then you have to take a look at it. The other 3 cops were standing around. Then, if I'm not mistaken, another car pulled up to hold crowd control because there were other, and no one, not until Vince got there, no one tried to do anything to save this man. Yep, he looked evil and he was looking at people and it was like he had this smirk. If you go back and look, I'm trying to learn how to do overlays too. I was hoping my cousin, because I do have some stuff loaded up. But if you look at his face, he's got a smirk on his face and it's disgusting. Yes, a smirk. He has a smirk on his face. Really disgusting. And you look at him and, you know, it's like he was arrested. What, it wasn't the next day. Oh my God, I forgot what date he was arrested on, but they were doing the investigation. They were pulling body camera footage and everything. And even the officers that were with them that were on the scene, they were, I cried. They were questioning him. Why didn't they step in? Hi, dear Yvette. How are you, baby? I saw you were going, either you or AT2 were going live. I can't remember. Yep, they would reach for their guns. You're exactly right. That's exactly what they did. They would reach for the gun. So, you know, with this court case, and you did, and you saw the officers, then there was a couple other cars come in, and, you know, and they were doing crowd control. Let's see. Yvette, I'm talking about Derek Chauvin. If you want to come up, I can drop the link for you, baby. Yeah, you wouldn't be. See, I understand what you're saying, and you have to look at the whole situation. Now, I'm sure the lady that was there, the guys that were across the street, that's when the other cop cars came in and they were doing crowd control. They were pushing people away. It's just scary. It's scary to, you know, position. I don't know what I would do in that position, because you think about, okay, this is not right. You know, this man needs help, and it's the truth. He needs help, but you're standing there filming, and just think about it. You have their camera footage. They had theirs. One of the cops, and wasn't showing his body, he said it malfunctioned. But the other lady that was standing there videotaping on the curb, they caught a lot of it too, along with the guy's comments and what they were saying. So I think that's why they could have released all that footage. No, see, the union is there. It's like any union, okay? It's like the carpentry union. Okay, good, because we're going to have to do the full in-depth. I'm saving the one for Nashville, so we're going to have to do the full in-depth one, and I'm also going to be covering this court case. So, and I'm going to let you know, Debbie from the commentary zone, Debbie has set me up with different thumbnails. So I have one for Court Chronicles. I have one for the Hot Topics, which you hear tonight. We have stuff for Reality T. So I will be following that trial and giving you updates at the end of the day while the trials are going on. I'm also going to, once Lori Vallow start, they were still going back, I will be covering that as well. So that's going to be under the Court Chronicles. We're going to do that. Also, I am going to cover, I keep saying we, I'm so used to it. I'm going to cover reality TV as well. Also, hot topics that are going on in today's news. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to the Derrick Jackson thing, but I'm getting off topic. He's a relationship guru. He's nothing but a cheater, pumpkin eater. He's like Steve Harvey, think like a man. No, think like a man, something but a woman. Yeah, they all cheaters. So I'm going to be covering that too. But I wanted to get into Derek Chauvin. Mina sent me this about a month or so ago. I started looking into it, follow this case, because this is really going to set, there have been a lot of police brutality cases. There have been a lot of cases. I think there's only been like maybe 2 convictions, maybe 3. I'm going to look into that because I'm going to do an in-depth thing on that. But, there's been a lot of cases lately, a lot of cases. Yes, and they do have some. I'm going to tell you guys right now, immunity rules are changing for police officers. They will be held. Yes, Yvette. In case you don't know, that's our resident a police official right there. I'm afraid too, if he's not found guilty. You think the protests were bad? This is what I'm scared of. But I think with the jury, and if you read what Nina was writing in the comments, I think this is a well-rounded jury. I think they're going to be the facts of what happened in the case. Instead of everything being tried in the media, it needs to be tried in a courtroom. People get upset when I talk about the Casey Anthony case. And even though we know Kelly is no longer with us, the prosecution did not meet their burden of proof. The burden of proof is what's needed. I'm telling you, I know everybody can say she did it. Okay, she did it. But according to the law, we have to follow the law. Okay? So if I was on a jury and whatever instructions the judge would give to me, and God knows I want to be on a jury trial so much. And when I was in college, I've sat through so many court proceedings, and I find court hearings and everything fantastic. I excelled in research and doing papers on different trials. So, and one time I was going to be a lawyer, then I got bored. But there are so many different nuances you have to do. When they give you those instructions, you take heed to what that judge says. You love to come. Wait a minute. What did you say? Okay, you can come up. I just dropped the link. Just and then turn your camera off. Come in. Allow your mic. Allow your camera. Then when I see you, before I bring you up, you can turn your camera off, Melanie. But I'm just saying that, so, it's the truth. It's the preponderance of the evidence. So even though, Kaylee they couldn't tell you how she was killed, what happened to her. In my heart of hearts, I believe the little girl drowned in the pool. She was neglected. She wasn't paid attention to. The daddy helped her cover it up, because the same place they searched. And I was in Orlando when the little girl went missing. I used to travel to Orlando all the time. Every time I went, it seemed like some little girl was missing. Okay, so, oh my God. Yeah, they have videos. He didn't get off the guy's neck until the ambulance showed up. And when they told him, and even then, they had to nudge him to get off of him. So, in my heart of hearts, I don't think that Kaylee intentionally hurt her daughter. I think it was by accident. What did you say, sweetie? Click on the link and just come in. And it's going to say, allow camera and mic. I'll see you backstage, and then you can turn your camera off. But court again is March 29th. Opening arguments for this case starts March 29th. So I'm just saying, your heart of hearts know that she's liable. You don't know to what extent. I think her father knew far more than what he was saying. The mother didn't know anything. Okay. Yet police, she did this, she did that. But in the interim, you did not have evidence, and they went for first-degree murder. When the case went sour is when the medical examiner got on the stand, and she said she could not give you the cause of death. Couldn't give you a cause. And she looked and she looked. Why? The father knew what he was doing. You know, after a certain police officer, he's retired. He knew what he was doing. So yes, excuse me, she had something to do with it, but to what extent, we don't know. Just like with David, even though you got all the camera evidence, you pulled the cell phone videos from everybody that was out there. You've got the police stuff, the camera, you have everything. The instructions that will be given to that jury will make or break this. Prosecution's case is strong enough, he will be convicted. Now, convicted of second-degree murder, third-degree murder, or second-degree manslaughter, we don't know. I will be surprised if this man is not convicted of one of those charges. I will be surprised. I don't care how much money his family received, $27 million, which, you know, could be more than what he would ever made in his lifetime. I'm sure it was. You took a husband, a father. Okay, you can turn it off now. I see you, Mel. I'm going to bring you up. He's retired. Okay, if you want to turn your camera off, just hit stop cam. Do with it, but to what extent, we don't know. And turn your YouTube off. Got all the camera evidence. You've got.
No, how do I do that?
Go to your other. You have another tab open.
I do.
Off. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah. All right, Melanie, I hear you. Do you hear me? Yes. Thank you, Yvette. He has to prove his life was in danger. And we know his life was not in danger, not from George at all. So we know that's not the case. Yep, no amount of money is going to bring this man back. And his daughter was young. Yes, ma'am. What do you have to say? In his lifetime, I'm sure it was.
Okay.
Melanie?
Why is my face on?
Husband, a father. Okay, stop your pain.
Oh, I did it?
Yep. Is YouTube still open? I just need you in StreamYard. I don't need you in YouTube. Okay, I don't hear myself anymore, so you should be. Melanie, what did you do? She kicked herself out. Okay. Melanie, it says your device. Okay, add to stream. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Yvette. He has to prove his life was in danger. Turn on, and we know it's being the StreamYard app. Not from George.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but I hear myself in the background. Close YouTube. Stay in StreamYard. No amount of money is going to.
It says I'm on my phone instead of my laptop, and it says at the top, StreamYard.com.
Okay, so but I hear YouTube too. So YouTube is open on something over there.
Let me try and figure it out. I'm so dumb. Let me get my husband. Poor guy.
Okay, well, your camera's off, so I can't see you, so you can turn your light on. Anyway, Juror 92 treated unfairly. Yes. So Mina, he has all of this stuff for me. Thank you.
Sasha.
Okay. I don't hear myself anymore.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you don't see me in my.
I don't see you. So what do you have to say, ma'am?
Okay. Where are we now? Are we talking about Casey Anthony? Or?
No, we're talking with George. I was just giving an example. Yeah, we're still talking with George. I was just giving an example, sweetie.
Okay. I just, the first thing is it's ridiculous to say he died from cardiopulmonary arrest because everyone dies from cardiopulmonary
arrest. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if your heart stops and your lungs aren't breathing, like everyone ultimately dies from that. So that's a ridiculous thing to say.
And you're the doctor, so you should know.
I do know. That's what I wanted to come on. So, I mean, that's just ridiculous. I don't even think, and I'm a huge proponent of the Black Lives Matter movement. I don't even think you need to. This was a murder that was taped. He could have been the whitest guy and it was a murder. But it probably wouldn't have happened if he was. It was so disturbing and so vile. And if you remember that newbie cop said, oh, well, you're talking so you can breathe. Well, everyone talks until they can't anymore.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, he talked until he could no longer talk and was dead. I mean, it's so outrageous. I cannot fathom that there won't be a conviction. And if there isn't, I think you're right. There will be such an uproar.
It's going to be an uproar. We all know that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, the guy, and the foaming at the mouth was because he was choking. He couldn't breathe, so he couldn't swallow his secretions.
No, Melanie, but you remember the officer said when he walked up to the car and he was in the driver's seat, he had foam around his mouth. Then.
You mean before they took him out?
Yes.
Do we see that on the?
No, we don't see that, but
I don't believe it.
Okay, well, that's what the first officer said. Lane said that he had foam around his mouth, but I found that strange since he had went in the store, and but he said when he was sitting in the driver's side, he noticed there was foam around his mouth. Now,
the first thing they should have done was tried Narcan, and no one did. So, to try and blame this on a drug overdose is ridiculous. Okay. Because if that's what they suspected, they didn't treat him for one.
Okay, you're right about that, but that's what he said, and that was before he placed him under arrest.
Yeah, I just find it odd that he's the only one that is saying what. And I mean, did they say he was like passed out or what? No. So he was
just sitting in the driver's seat. He had just walked out the store
with the, God forbid, questionable $20. Like, no, you will never convince me he was sitting in a car alert and just foaming at the mouth.
Yeah,
it makes medically.
That's what they said.
Makes no sense. Well, that's what they said. But it's interesting that their police.
They said 3 people were in the car. George Floyd was in the driver's seat. A known adult male was in the passenger seat, and a known adult female was sitting in the back seat. Officer Lane began speaking with Mr. Floyd. He pulled his gun out and pointed at Mr. Floyd's open window and directed Mr. Floyd's hands, show his hands. When Mr. Floyd put his hands on the steering wheel, Lane put his gun back in the holster. While officers speaking in front of Floyd out the car, where does the foam come in? He had foam around his mouth before he was seat though.
I'll never buy it.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Yes, that is what they're saying. And why weren't their body cams on?
No, the body cams were on, but they were functioning. All of a sudden, one of them stopped working.
Oh, isn't that convenient?
Okay, yes. He said, Officer, one handcuff, Mr. Floyd walked with Officer Lane to the sidewalk and sat on the ground at Officer Lane's direction. When Floyd sat down, he said, "Thank you, man," and was calm. In a conversation that lasted just under 2 minutes, Officer Lane asked Mr. Floyd for his name and identification. Officer Lane asked Mr. Floyd if he was on anything and noted there was foam at the edges of his mouth. That's what they said. He was sitting on the sidewalk then, so he wasn't put into the police car yet. So you don't buy that either?
No, not for one. I don't buy it for 1 second. I mean, how is he cooperating and getting out? Like, I mean, you just don't foam at the mouth.
Okay.
You
Look
know,
at what
I mean,
Nina just
you
said. She
do
said,
it.
allegedly in a prior arrest, he has swallowed and subscribed a substance while they approached the vehicle. So maybe he has swallowed something then too.
But they're saying that before they approached the vehicle, you know, right when they got there, he was, I mean, you don't take a drug and foam immediately.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I've never taken drugs, so I don't know.
No, neither have I, but I've seen it a million times. And, you know, it's usually like a lot of drugs and you can't swallow your secretions. And, you know, most people are pretty, I mean, if you get to that stage, you're pretty out of it. Like, you're not going to be cooperative. I just don't buy it. And I think it's interesting that the body cam, you know, went out right before. And I mean, we all saw, thank God, the pedestrians.
And we saw like remember, it was like 3 different angles that they were showing us. And that's when the other people that were videotaping. So it was 3 different angles that we got to see.
Yes.
I'm sorry. And do you see what Cindy just said? She said that he had something in his mouth and they were trying to make him spit it out. That doesn't say, Cindy, where did you find that at, sweetie? Because I've never heard of that. Because he was sitting down.
There. And you know what? I believe there were drugs in his system.
Yes, it was fentanyl and methamphetamines. Yes, he had fentanyl and methamphetamines in his system.
And that doesn't call for his death.
Nope. They said it was the prolonged knee on the neck, and they ruled it a homicide.
It is a homicide.
It is a homicide, yes.
100%. I can't believe that any juror can watch that video, hear him I can't breathe. Hear, you know, the pedestrians say, "What are you doing? He can't breathe." Like, and that arrogant cop with his smirk and hands in his pockets made me sick.
But that's not always true, because look what happened to Eric Garner in New York. They were found. I mean, come on now. That's not true. I mean, we see it. Everybody saw it. It's on camp. Hi, Crystal. Oh my God. Oh yeah, the autopsy concluded he had COVID. Yes, he had COVID too.
Yeah. And you know, the fact that he had, I think, a hypertensive cardiomyopathy. And none of those are the reason he died. That's like saying, like, oh, well, they had diabetes.
Nope.
Like, that's not why he died.
Nope.
You know, it may probably, you know, he had less reserve, so it made it easier or, you know, quicker for, you know, him to die. But that is not why he died. He died from asphyxiation. And they can say, you know, I mean, I don't know what they said. Didn't they say it wasn't what did they say about asphyxiation?
They said that that there was no physical.
Right.
Okay, so wait a minute. So before then, Derek Chauvin had 15 conduct complaints. 15.
Yes. That too.
15. He had been on the force for 19 years, and he had 15 conduct complaints.
Do you know what happens if a doctor gets like 1 complaint? You're put on probation. Like, how they just kept rehiring this freak?
And then, so, you know, here are my notes too. So his 5, 7 were heavily redacted. A lot of stuff was missing. A lot of stuff was missing. He pulled over a woman. He pulled a woman from her car and frisked her after she was caught driving 10 miles over the speed limit. This is Derek Chauvin, okay?
Yeah.
He was disciplined on that. In 2006, he was given a medal of valor. He was recommended for a Medal of Valor for his role in shooting of a man who aimed a shotgun at officers. So prior to that, he was in the Army. We know that. He was a security guard. He worked at McDonald's. Yep.
You know, I mean, I haven't read a lot. I mean, of course, I've seen the video many times and what I've heard on the news, you know, so, you know, I'm hearing from you, but what possessed him to what possessed him to put him on the ground if he wasn't being combative? Just because?
Just because he dragged him out of the front seat.
Yeah, that I know. And then just threw him on the ground.
Yeah.
Just because.
Crystal, I'm so glad you're here. But then with that, so, you know, we have to look at this man who has been put up on disciplinary charges 15 times.
I mean, he is so
19 years on the force
against him.
He's still an officer. He's never made detective. What is that telling you?
I mean, he's bad cop. They're not all bad, but he's bad. And you know, even the newer, you know, the rookie police
resisting arrest. Okay, let's just stop. He was already handcuffed when they were trying to put him in the back seat. So he was already handcuffed. He was asking them, look at the video. He cannot get in the back seat. He's claustrophobic. He was claustrophobic. So he's already handcuffed. How is he resisting?
He wasn't.
Because you don't want to get in the car? Okay, he didn't want to. He didn't want to get in the back seat. The other officer had put him in the passenger side in the front. When Derek got there, he yanked him out of that. That's why you see him on that side on the ground.
Ugh. And then the younger cop said, like, turn him on his side. He's like, he's fine.
Derek Chauvin was Lane's training officer. So Lane hadn't been on the force that long.
Right.
And he had no track records for complaints. This is the bad part. You took one bad.
Oh, you froze for me.
Yeah, everybody's on the internet tonight. I have no damn idea why. But we're having a thunderstorm here too, because the power actually went out earlier because I was going to go earlier, then I pushed it back. So, you know, you have one cop who's the senior officer, 19 years on the force. You're going to take direction from him, even though you know what he's doing is wrong. That means that's like, what do you call those guys that fly? The blue what? The Blue Angels?
Yeah.
You know, and everybody used to laugh. I made a comment one time. I lived in Virginia Beach, right by Oceana, over by the naval base, over where they flew. And they would have the, you know, they would fly the patterns. I said, damn. I said, they're playing follow the leader. I said, if he goes down, everybody goes, because you have to do what he does. And believe it or not, that happened. That was a crash. So, but you see what I'm saying? You're sitting there, you know right from wrong. You know what he's doing is wrong. So what do you do?
He spoke up,
but he didn't do anything about it. He could have pulled him off.
He could, absolutely. But, you know, I can also see where he might think, I'm new to this and maybe I don't know and I'm wrong and
it's your opinion.
It's fine.
It's your opinion. There's no right or wrong. It's your opinion.
What's that noise?
I have no idea. I don't.
Do you hear a noise?
No, I don't.
What the hell?
I don't know. Maybe you got a ghost over there. You need a Ghostbusters?
Oh no, I'm hearing a crazy noise. It's probably my phone.
Oh, yeah, and he did. He had evil in his eyes. I'm just saying. You have 3 other officers out there before the other cars pulled up. None of you and the other ones actually held their position. They never moved. They held his legs. They held his arms. Nobody moved anything. Yes, he did. So I'm just saying, I'm waiting to see how this is going to go. I am going to follow this because this is a trial. This is another OJ trial for me. I want to see this through. I'm going to watch every piece of evidence. I want to see everybody that testifies. I want to watch it. So I will be giving blow by blow on this one. Also, and I know I'm running a little over, I wanted to bring up the mass killing that happened on Monday in Boulder, Colorado. So there were 10 people killed at this supermarket. It's called King Supers. It's a part of the Kroger franchise. And the ages of these people, so the officer that was killed, Eric Talley, he had 7 children, 7 kids. He had been for 11 years. He was shot in the head. He ran. He was the first officer on the scene. He ran into the store and he was met by gunfire. The defendant or the shooter, 21-year-old Ahmed Alisa. He was born in Syria and he was brought to the United States when he was 3 years old. They're still looking to see what the motive was, but he went in there on a shooting. And one guy said he walked in, he heard the shots, then he heard another shot, and then he backed out and he called police. One lady came face to face with him. She said he had nothing but evil in his eyes. So we have 25-year-old Ricky O's. He was there. He was killed. 65-year-old Judy Waters was killed. 20-year-old Denny Strong was killed. Nevin Stanzik was 23. Trelona, I'm trying to pronounce her last name, Barkowick is 49, was 49. Terry Leaker was 51. Lynn Murray was 62. Suzanne Fountain was 59. And Kevin Mahoney was 61. You had the older gentleman that was killed, the 65-year-old. He walked up to the man, shot him, and then stood over him and shot him 2 times. So I will be following this as well. They took him. He was treated. He was injured in a gun battle. That's why he was bleeding. They shot him in the leg. See, that's when you use deadly force. That's when you blow his brains out. I'm sorry. That's when you do that kind of shit. Okay? Not when somebody's running away from you. You shoot them. You shoot to kill when they're running away. There's no danger at you at that time, but you're going to shoot him in the leg. Got you. Okay. So I'm just saying that to me, I've always believed in, you don't shoot to kill. You shoot to wound. They did the right thing. Don't get me wrong. But when I'm reading this and I see these people in 8 days, you had 2 in-store employees that were killed. You had little kids that were hiding under clothing racks. And then it was scared that their feet would show. This man went in there and he just started, and it was an AR-15. He started shooting. No one said if he was an ex-store employee. We don't know why he went in there. I am following that. It is sick. I mean, then, we had the mass shooting in Atlanta. I'm going to get into that as well, but I want to touch on the shooting in Boulder because I'm going to do another in-depth. I know one of the ladies was a mother of 4 children. I think Ricky worked at the store, and I think Danny worked at the store. I mean, not Danny. I'm going to look into it. I'm getting the information as they release it. Yes, pray for these families, please, because you got a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old, 23-year-old. Come on, guys. Hi, Jared. It's just sad that, people don't think anything. Yes. Thank you, Yvette. In order for a cop to use deadly force, there must be opportunity, capability, and those words. And I learned those words on your show the other night. You know, it's just sad that these people, you know, they go to the store, they go to work. This one guy was going in just to buy a soda. He was killed. His dad was out in the car. It's just sad. Very sad. These people don't think anything about taking someone's life. For what? If you're miserable, shoot your goddamn self. Kill your damn self. Sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, if you're that unhappy, put yourself out of your misery. Stop taking your shit out on other people. That's what they need to start doing. And people keep saying gun control, gun control, gun control. I think if you sell the bullets and pop, there will be less damn people being shot. Seriously, make the bullets cost more than what it is to buy a damn gun. What the fuck was he doing with an AR-15? What you need that for? What war are you fighting? Oh, Jared, this is something, you can come on with me Friday, Jared. This is something I don't want to trigger you on. But Friday, I'm going to do trivia. And you can come on with me Friday. You can be my trivia partner. Okay? Please? Yeah, so this is something, yeah. So I'm talking about something. And I don't really think that, I don't know if you should be here, Jared, to be honest, because we're talking shootings and stuff that's been going on. So, but yes, so that's all. But I'm going to touch on this probably tomorrow. I'm going to see what else is going on this case as far as the shooting in Boulder. I know Yvette and I are going to be covering the Nashville. We're going to be covering shootings, period. But I really want to go over that Nashville one that happened. And I want to go over it with Yvette since there's so much, camera footage and everything. And she can walk us through step by step on what happened and how it happened and why it shouldn't have went that way. So Yvette and I will be covering that. So I'm going to save that for Yvette so we can come up and discuss it. But the Boulder case, yes, as soon as I find out exactly what was going through this man's mind or what excuses he's giving for what he did, for actually going ahead on this rampage, and I'm just walking into a grocery store. I mean, that makes you nervous. When I go in the grocery store, right after this happened, I went to, no, matter of fact, it was when I came back Monday is when I found out this happened. Now it's making you think twice about going to a grocery store. So, yeah, so that's, I'm serious. This is, I'm sorry, but this is something that we really need to look at. I mean, I like covering reality TV, but I want to cover things that's happening in the news as every day. So this is affecting everybody's real life. And that's exactly what I want to do. So I appreciate each and every one of you for being here with me. I know this is not my first stream, but this is the first stream where we're going to cover. And then as I said, I got the different thumbnails. We're still going to do Heidi After Dark. But I'm going to be covering a lot more stuff. And I hope you guys, if you have ideas like Mina sends, oh, yes, Mina. Yes, the female clown killer. If y'all don't remember this, she went to her lover's house, put a clown costume on, shot the mother. When she opened the door, she gave her flowers. Okay, the son was there. He had a surgery or whatever, and he was at the house. Shot her, killed her. The husband went to jail for some fraud, whatever. After he got out, they got married and moved and opened up a hamburger stand. I remember that case clearly. Yes, I definitely want to cover that as well. Thank you, Heidi. I'm serious. I love your name. But I will be covering that. I will keep making posts about this. I don't have a community tab yet. So, but I will be keeping you updated on IG. I changed the Super Sippers page to the page for this channel. Let me see. I wonder why this stuff seems, wait a minute. Yes. Yes, Crystal. That's something I'm looking into as well. But if you look, when the shooting happened here in Texas, it was basically he was a young white guy that lived in the upper class neighborhood. He went down to the lower class where all the Hispanics and stuff shopped at Walmart, and he went in there on a shooting spree. So, you know, we have to look at all of this. And guys, when I was in college, I did a paper on the prison system, on death row. You know, it costs more to put a person to death than it does to have them live on versus life imprisonment. It costs more to put someone to death than it does if they were to live the rest of their life in jail. Because the extra security, you have to do this. The extra, I'm telling you, I have a whole paper on it. I researched that to the T. I love researching stuff like that. And I've gotten my papers. My professors used to tell me, make sure you put this in a portfolio. When I do my research, I do my research. I like to cross every T and dot every I. So, you know, that is something I'm good at. I'm good at researching stuff. So I would definitely keep you guys up to date. Also, my guest that I had scheduled for March 30th, she's going to be here as well. And I'm going to get with Monica and I'm going to see what we can do. She asked me today, you know, what could she do? But I'm going to bring Monica over here and on this channel, and we're going to have a conversation too. So I just think we should be able to have a conversation, have an open discussion. You know, nobody's opinion is wrong. You know, people can agree to disagree. And that's what I love about it. Oh, Mina, I'm covering 2 cases at one time. Okay, the clown case starts in April. Lori Vallow is going on now. I'm going to have all kind of court updates for you on my Court Chronicles. But I love you guys all. I really appreciate everybody being here tonight. And let me tell you, I did watch Breaking Amish. I don't know. I might do a quick rundown on it tomorrow. It'll be pre-recorded just so you guys know what's going on. I'm going to set a schedule so that way we'll know what I'm covering. And if you guys have anything else that you want me to cover or you might find interested or you're interested in talking about, please DM me. Let me know. And I'll be sure to look into it. And, you know, Mina does it all the time. Kelly Hildred does it all the time. So, and see, I do take your advice. I do take your advice. I look at it. I look at it from all perspectives. I want to see how it's going to affect everybody. And like I said, it's an open platform. We can have an open discussion. And I appreciate, yes, Detective Heidi is on the job, girl. I should have been Inspector Clouseau. Please like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate it, guys. And I can't say Super Sippers out no more, so you guys are going to be my tea sippers. Love you all. Good night. Thanks for coming. Bye.